Hello, hello. How's it going?
Super fine.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. So sorry. Welcome to the Chicago meetup. I just realized that I forgot to put the link in there. I know some people put in the comments, so I know people are trickling in. Yeah, don't be afraid to share that link. Sorry about that. But yeah, hello, Arnaud, and hello, everyone. I see that we have some folks streaming in today, and some folks that are like, "Sorry, we're late." So don't worry. We have a little bit of time for folks that are still trickling in. Yeah, we got some folks from Brazil, Madison, Wisconsin. That's really exciting because actually, I am not streaming from Chicago today. I'm streaming from Door County, Wisconsin. So kind of fun. Very Wisconsin based. I'm actually in an old friend's coffee shop, so this is like a really fun surprise. Yeah. Yeah, how's everything going on your end, Arnaud?
Perfect. With a bit of sound from your coffee shop, then sounds
Yeah,
good.
beautiful. Yeah. So, uh, welcome everyone. This is Chicago Kotlin User Group. We have a very special guest host today, Arnaud Giuliani. He is a Kotlin GDE and he is also the creator of Coin. And my understanding is, Arnaud, we're coming back today with some Coin general architecture guidelines.
Exactly, Amanda. From years, let's say 2020, where COVID cuts off a bit all the conferences around, I try to see that there was not such support for architecture guideline, even if Coin is super easy to use and has been always intended to just be used as you want. I was feeling that there was a need of at least giving some guidelines, giving some big lines of writing applications. And in Android those days, it's MVP, MVVM, still MVP. I still see MVP sometime, but
Yeah.
at least having the right the right routes for you to start.
Yeah, no, I think it's funny you say that. Like, I've used Coin myself. It's very easy to use, but I think like with many frameworks, it is possible to find ways to use it incorrectly. Yeah, but yeah, that's wonderful, and this is kind of great that we're talking about Coin today because I know like I've used Coin historically. Like, there's been a lot of popular use with like Android and Coin. Sorry, how's like the echoing and stuff?
The
Is that
so
okay?
in
Can you
terms
hear me
of
okay?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
audio quality. Okay, good.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of. I'm really excited about this because my understanding is that we'll be kind of like covering like also some guidelines, like even for Kotlin multi-platform work as well. Kotlin multi-platform has kind of gained more traction and legitimacy. Even in the last few years. So I don't know, like, I don't know if you have any like fun insights with that.
Yeah. I have a part on that. It's part also of the architecture part. I believe those days we see more and more company starting this adventure of multi-platform, and Coin is naturally one of the player inside because it's the DI of your platform. Then it helps you bring everything in music, and it's important to be there to give the again the same, to have the solid basics just to start assembling everything, and then at least for Coin to help the multi-platform dependency injection. But it's cool to see all of those KMP project raisings, and also I believe that JetBrains is making many surveys about that, and we see that the industry is really having attraction those days. Then it's really interesting topics. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially like in coin use and stuff, right? Just like Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's kind of fun just like like just looking back like what coin really came into the scene like what 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I
Or
began
like it
the
really
first
started blowing up. Yeah.
first line was in 2017, but
Yeah.
then the real stuff began, I believe, in 2018, and then 2019 it was beginning to be
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, actually one of our viewers is saying that coin is super popular in Brazil. So I don't know, that's just really, really cool stuff. Before I definitely want to let you take the floor. This is like still really cool stuff to talk about. But in the spirit of giving you the floor very soon, what is like one thing that you would want viewers to know? Like, like what's one thing they should keep an eye out for if they don't remember anything else about this talk?
um, One thing super hard because the one thing it's perhaps having the big picture of this is the main themes of my talk here about architecture design, is having this big picture in mind and having the basics, those bricks of components, how to play that. And also, spoiler alert, but we will dive into scopes and a bit of funky thing. Then I believe this can help many people understand really how to not go too fast in complex stuff, because coin has
Yeah.
been made to be super easy. Then my main mojo is say keep your coin stuff super easy. Keep coin easy, don't try to
Keep it
make complex.
easy.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
Exactly. Then
Oh,
I believe this is your main point of view, as I always written coin to make you perhaps forget that you are using it also. Then also I believe you need to keep everything super simple, and you don't have to rethink of, oh god, what I've written here I don't understand, and you get blame, oh it was me.
yes, yeah, yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. So overall, we want to have like a very opinionated way of doing it, but in such a way that we can just forget about it. And
Yeah,
you're here to
exactly.
tell us about how we can set that up. So I'm really excited. This is going to be great. Okay, I'm going to boot you off for just a few minutes. We're going to go over logistics, and then I'm going to hand you the floor.
Great.
All right, wonderful. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Kotlin user meetup for today. I am streaming from a coffee shop, so it's a bit chaotic. That's almost comical. It's like that right on cue, really. Um, so today we have Arnaud Giuliani. He is a Kotlin GDE and a creator of Coin. If you're not familiar with the Kotlin user group, we believe in being inclusive. CCUG is an inclusive group, so be curious, ask questions, and avoid assumptions. If you end up asking questions in the chat, I will be sure to give voice to them. So yes, please feel free to ask as many questions as you want, and we'll be sure to read them at the end. Would you like to give a talk? We actually we offer an open CFP year round. You can take a look at the link in the bottom. It's a safe space to practice your talk, so please use us. It's a good way to expand your network. So if you have any like work talks or even like conference talks you want to try out, or even small projects you want to share, please do it. We love your talks. We have great speakers like Arnaud. We also have first time speakers, and they've all been great. So please feel free to submit something, and I'll be happy to work with you on that. Okay, so don't forget, we do have a channel in the Kotlin Links Slack. It's hashtag Chicago. And also, we are on Twitter for Chicago Kotlin, and you can also tag Arnaud with his username. So, okay, some other live reactions. Like I said, there will be a YouTube chat. Please feel free to put in your questions there. We'll be sure to give voice to them at the end. And then, of course, yep, there's always Twitter. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the floor to Arnaud. I apologize for all the craziness, but don't worry, we're
Thank
removing
you.
myself from it. It's like just some
Okay.
fun coffee shop vibes, bringing it right to your home. So, okay, without further ado, take it away.
Let's go. I will be blind on my side as soon as we'll be full screen. Then let's go for this architecture design with Koin presentation.
Yeah, feel free to take your time. It looks good to me. So
okay, perfect. You see through my screen. Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. Let's go then. Already presented, but I'm not Giuliani, Koin project creator and lead, and also GD in Kotlin. Don't hesitate to ask me any question about Koin on Twitter. I will be happy to answer you. Today, I would like to share some recipes with Koin and architecture. As Koin is your dependency injection framework, this is the tool to help you build your application, to make the backbone of it. Then I believe today it will be interesting to share some guidelines for the main classical architecture. Before diving into architecture stuff directly, I like to recap some Koin core concept and get back to the basics to be sure that everyone in the audience is following me at least. But yes, I would just say, yeah, if you want to know Koin, just use it. It's super easy, but let's recap how it works just quickly. As a dependency injection framework, we have two classes, class A, class B. Class B is just having a dependency on class A. Then the idea of Koin is having a DSL. Here, we open a module where we declare definitions directly. Then it's a DSL, it's a compiling with your Kotlin code. Then we are instantiating, we are making objects right after the single keyword here. It's the kind of definition we want. It's a unique instance of object. And then finally, the magic of Koin is providing the way we are building our object with just functions. And then we fill the gap with just another keyword, is get. Then in three keywords, you have mainly your main ideas of the DSL and the way we want to structure the configuration of how we can build your application is declaring all the definition. And then inside each definition function behind single keyword here is having the constructor of your class here, and we fill with get every time we need a dependency. Then here you can notice that we are using constructor injection, and then we are separating a configuration of Koin here, and then class A and class B are not dependent of Koin API. And then Koin is creating all those instances for you. In the opposite on the other way, if we want to benefit from a field resolution array or some kind of service locator, we can ask Koin to unlock some extension function for us. And this is the way we do by using the Koin component interface. And Koin component interface allow you to use inject function in any kind of class. Then, for example, in my class, my app, I want a field class B, then I want to inject it from Koin. That means that this class B field is lazily resolved when we are accessing this field, when we are using this value, and then Koin will resolve it for you. This way, we need to create an instance on our own, the my app instance class here, and then we can access class B here. The host class, as we may call it, is not created by Koin. Class my app here is created either by hand, either with whatever framework. And then we are depending on the Koin API to retrieve a dependency. Then our field is resolving the dependency magically by Koin. Now that we see basically how coin works. That means with modules and also injection on field. I would say like injection on field. I would recommend to use at minimum as possible injection of field, as you may be independent as possible from the coin framework. But then we will see that it's not a problem in Android after that. Let's dive into some classical MVP and MVVM architecture recipes then. And I like to play with some Google architecture blueprints. I believe also that the Google team is reworking this architecture blueprint sample those days with a Compose version of it. But at the start of this project, it is an architecture sample project. That means it's a project to demo any kind of architecture for MVP, MVVM, trying to demo DI, etc., etc. You have the Android link with the main repository here, architecture samples, and we have forked this project into the coin organization, GitHub organization, to have our own version of this project. This application is a super crazy application where you are finally just making to-do. You know, it's a list of things you want to do. Then it's just a list where you have a plus floating button, and then you add new to-do inside. The UI is really super simple, but behind the interest is having multiple kind of components. You will see that, for example, here we have a task activity. We will use a task view model or task presenter if we are in the MVP. Behind that, we will ask a task repository for requesting our data. And behind the repository, we have two kind of data sources, a remote one and a local one. And behind the local data source, to make things super complex, we are using a database. Then it's interesting use case where finally we can demo many things in terms of dependency injection and allow us to not have too much simplistic use case here. This is the big picture of our application, from a simple UI to the let's say the current regular current components that we can use in Android. Then just a warning about Coin in Gradle. Since Coin 3.x, you don't have to use Android X ViewModel scope and fragment. Everything has been pulled back in the Coin Android dependency, the main Coin Android package, Gradle one. As finally, everything, all of that is in the Android, in the main Android feature, ViewModel, scope, and fragment. Then when you start an Android project, just use Coin Android package and you're gone. Now that we have just added our dependency in our Gradle file, we want to declare our first data source. It's a remote data sources. And in our module, what we will have to do is just describe single of task data source, then the abstraction type, and in brackets here, the function that is creating the class task remote data source. Fairly basic, super easy to read. Then here, if we have a second data source, it's the local one that is using, as you see in the constructor, task DIO and the correcting dispatcher. Then in task data source, we will have two definitions of the same type task data source. The first one, the remote data source class, and then the task local data source that is using two dependencies. Then you see that we are using get and get. This is working, but if we want really to use those two definitions at the same time, we need to use qualifier. This qualifier is just set up with this function named that can either take a string or a type if you want, because then we can refer either a string as type. And then we will use this qualifier, this label, everywhere we need clearly to use explicitly this definition. But then, as we have two data sources here, we need to make difference with the label. Let's describe our task repository. The default task repository is having those two dependencies, as you see in the constructor, with the two kind of data sources, and also Kotlin dispatcher. We declare it with single of task repository, okay, and we create an instance of default task repository. We need to put explicitly the name of the qualifier of the component we want to target here. Let's go with the room database. As in the function that is running your instance, we can write everything that is Kotlin. Then we can run just a function like rules database builder to build up everything to build our database. Then in one line, we can just create an instance of room database, and then we keep it in Koin. And as you may see, we have a function Android context here in green. This is where we are resolving the Android context referenced by Koin. And if we want to use the to-do database here that we are declaring with room, we just say get of this database and then we can use the task DAO to declare a reference of this task DAO, and then we can inject it later. Now we come up in the layers, and we have a task view model. This task view model is using a task repository and a save state handle to be fun. Then we just use ViewModel keyword here, the function to create the task view model, and then get to resolve the repository, and the save state handle will be directly produced by the factory with Koin. Then here, nothing more than writing just get here. And finally, we have declared everything in our configuration file. Then everything should be okay. The only thing that needs to be done in terms of UI, as we can't create task activity by hand, this is the Android system that is calling us on the lifecycle, the well-known Android lifecycle. Then the only way to do that is having to call the Koin API by hand, and then we use the field resolution way to resolve dependency. And then we use the classical By ViewModel here delegate function to resolve our task view model. Then you see really classic here to resolve the thing. Very easy. Everything is declared in the module, and then one line, just By ViewModel in our activity, and you're gone. If we have a task presenter, for example, for people that are still in MVP, that's okay. How we declare a presenter in Koin, for example, we have a class task presenter repository, and for example, here it's a reference on task view that is a contract for the MVP, the view side of the presenter. What we can do is that first we declare this instance as a factory. This way, each time we are recreating the UI, we are recreating the activity or the fragment, then the UI will ask Koin to recreate an instance, and that's okay. And then also there's a very interesting feature called injected parameter here. As we are using a Kotlin function, we can pass parameters inside this function, and then we can use that in our instance. And to pass this parameter, this means that from the task view perspective, in our task activity, for example, while we are making by inject is to inject any kind of component. The By ViewModel is a special by inject that is wiring everything for the ViewModel factory for you and the lifecycle. But here it's just something classical. Then we just use by inject, and you see that we open brackets. We open a block code here just behind the by inject, and then we can use parameters of function that will take everything in parentheses and will forward to your function. And then, for example, we can reference the task activity as a task view, and then we can reference task view directly as a dynamic way to go to our task presenter instance. If we just step back on all the configuration, you see that we have done the view model, the factory, task repository, data sources here. We have used qualifiers, and then Room API can directly be described, can be used directly to declare instances. Here you go, and everything is declared in your configuration. If you want, we have organized everything in one module, but if you want, there is no constraint for you to discover everything in terms of splitting modules in the way you want. The only constraint for you for Koin is that when you try to run your configuration, or this configuration can be one or several modules, everything needs to be ready to inject then. Then up to you to organize yourself in terms of layer, feature, components. Take in mind that there is a unit test function in Koin that helps you verify your graph if you really need to verify your configuration before going in runtime on your application. Then here you go. For example, this is how you can combine two modules. We have a data module, UI module. Then we can declare app module with just the plus operator. And what we can do is start in Koin, start Koin modules, and then we can run this app module. The plus operator here is wrapping all the list of all the most module into a list, and then we can make it for you. In Koin 3.2, also there is a new feature called includes. We don't have time today to see it, but I encourage you to go online on the blog of Godzilla to see those new features, and you will see that it is interesting. Let's go a bit further in terms of architecture and talk about clean architecture. I know that many people like clean architecture in Android. Also that Google tried to clean a bit more their big picture in terms of architecture those days with a new documentation about how we can go from 2-tier to 3-tier architecture with a business layer. Then the clean architecture is introducing this use case layer for us. That means that we can gather business rules into components. What does it mean for our application here is that we introduce a new layer. We introduce, for example, the get task use case that finally is wrapping the use case business rules. Okay, then it can be reused elsewhere in the application. And finally, the impact in terms of DI is very easy. Our view model is just referencing the task use case component, then it doesn't change anything in terms of dependency. We still have get. And in terms of use case, we have a new class here, the get test use case, that is requesting the task repository, and then we can create it as a factory. The interest of having it as a factory is that we don't hold any kind of instance. We want it to be stateless. That means that it's called with the lifecycle of the component that is calling it. For example, if it's called with the view model, then it will be there until the view model is destroyed. Then for us, it's interesting to not hold any kind of state. Then we use a factory. And here in our application, we just introduce a new line, the factory of get test use case here. Let's wrap up. We have seen many kind of components. Let's see the big picture then. This is our application, task activity with task presenter, task view model, then the presentation layer side. After that, the task repository, task data sources, local data sources, the task database. Then the presentation layer side is always declared as a factory or view model. All the repository and data sources will be declared as a single component. Also the database, then we want unique instance of those components. And at the end, finally, at the top of the graph of the hierarchy, in the UI, we just want the koin API, then by inject or by ViewModel, to retrieve all the graph dependency and the right component for us. And because we are crazy about clean architecture, if you introduce the test case here, the use case component, declare it as a factory, that means that the presentation layer, the whole presentation layer will be completely stateless, and then either the task presenter, either the task view model will be dropped, then the get task use case will be dropped also. In theory, more, let's say, more big picture stuff, you see that all the data component and all the data layers from data sources, repository, database, you can declare them as single. Use case, interactor, factory, presentation layer, factory view model, and then all the Android components, all that is tied to the Android lifecycle, Koin API, because we won't be able to declare this in Koin directly. It's time to go a bit deeper in the art stuff. This is the dark side of DI, is how we can deal with complex stuff with scope, and especially why do we need a scope? What is a scope? A scope is it's a space where we are keeping instance for a specific time, and then when this specific time is gone, then we can destroy all those instances. And then this is usually what we can observe with Android scope. We want to maintain some component for the duration of the Android component lifecycle. And as you have already seen, we can follow the Android component in a fair, easy way with just a presenter, with the by inject thing, and just a factory. If you are using MVP or very easy kind of component, this will follow the my activity lifecycle directly. This means what you can see on the green boxes here is that my activity drop, then we create a new my activity instance, and then you see that there is a new instance of my presenter. Okay, then if we want to be tied to a scope here, for example, then, for example, the idea, the need here to use a scope will be this. For example, to have to have two objects, my presenter and my adapter, that we want to tie to my activity, but then in the my adapter, we want to be tied to the my presenter thing. That means that we want those set of objects to be in the same area, to be in the same zone. And then this is how you can declare it with Koin. Scope of the given type, you open the block code, and then you declare two scoped definition, my presenter and then my adapter. You see that my adapter class is using my presenter, and then we want this my presenter instance to be the same in my adapter and my activity. And this is one case where we need clearly a scope, and we need to have the same kind of instance. Again, if my activity is dropping, then my presenter, my adapter will be dropped, and then a new instance of my activity will come, and then a new instance of my presenter and my adapter will come. Those cases are not surviving to configuration changes. The only way to deal with configuration changes is the view model. The view model is the API from Android, where you can declare your view model with the view model keyword, and then the only thing to do in your activity or fragment is just use by view model, and then your view model will survive to any kind of configuration change. As long as the activity is recreated or something, then the view model instance will be the same, and you don't have to control anything. Just declare your view model, and that's it. If we want to make things a bit more complex, for example, we want to maintain object in the same scope of a view model, then we need to have what we have called here is a special class. To declare a scope within Koin, we are declaring the scope DSL block code, but also we are using a dedicated scope activity class. I will show after how you can avoid to use this Koin class. But scope activity class, it's an utility class from Koin that is describing a scope. By default, it will be the current scope, the activity current scope, than the previous scope that we have seen. But if we want something that is living more longer, then we need what we have here is activity retain scope. That means that we will back up everything declared in this scope on the view model lifecycle thing, and then all your component will be surviving to configuration changes. Really, really special cases. Not use that much more than that, but I believe in some cases, in some application, perhaps you need to have something that is surviving besides of the view model. One of the other things that can be tied to the view model is the navigation graph. Then there is a special project, koin-annotations navigation, that offer you the navigation API for you. Then, for example, if we have a navigation view model here that is handling special things for navigation, what we need to do is that this view model can be tied to the navigation graph instance of your application. And to do that, because else it will be tied to your activity or fragment, and then you will recreate things. To bind it to this navigation graph, you use by koin nav graph view model and then the ID of your nav graph. Let's wrap up, because we have seen many things also in this section. To declare a scope, you use in your module the scope section, and then you scope definition if you need. If you just ask yourself before using any kind of scope, just ask yourself if you just don't need any kind of factory or view model. If you really need something more complex, take a look at this. The way to retrieve a scope and to activate this scope in in Android, either you use the scope activity class, either you can use the Android scope component. It's an interface that is giving the scope field here, and that will be by default delegated to activity scope. This is the same way, the same stuff, but one is an utility class directly. The other, if you don't want to depend on Koin classes, etc., you can use this interface to begin to run your own scope, or if you want to override, or just use the default activity scope. If you want, and live dangerously, you can play with the Koin API directly. You say in your component that is having your Koin instance, then get Koin, create scope, or get scope, and then you can have access manually to this space, and then you can resolve anything from it. Then scope.get. And finally, if you want to bind the view model to your navigation graph, then here you go with this koin-annotations graph, nav graph stuff with by koin nav graph view model API. Where do you push the scope options in terms of declaration and big picture in terms of architecture? You put it at the presentation layer side. That means that you have all your static components that doesn't move from anywhere. This is where your main repository domain layers can be. After that, all the presentation layers can be dynamic and then factory view model or scope. if I have one thing to say, and perhaps Amanda, this is one thing you want to keep in mind also, is keep your config, keep your coin configuration simple. And perhaps one quote from Sheptaz, less code equals less bugs. I like this one, and this is why also I developed Coin. It's time to check for new architecture stuff and see how Coin can help you on those new, shiny, trendy architecture. First one, I believe people are playing with those days is Jetpack Compose. And to inject Jetpack Compose for now, we propose the koin-annotations compose package, where finally this allow you to use get directly to resolve a dependency from coin in your composable function. Also, as you may use it directly in your composable function, it's interesting to place it in your parameter function and then have it as a default value. This way, you are not completely tied to coin. That means that if you can use coin as a default value, then you need the coin container. Either you can provide your own instance of my service, for example, here. The same for ViewModel, as we are using get ViewModel or By ViewModel. And the same you can use and you can inject in your composable the ViewModel instance here with this function. Things are evolving fast on Jetpack Compose. We begin to fork the Compose samples application, and we try to play with it. And I believe we will have many other interesting use case in terms of DI for Compose soon. We keep you in touch for that. Dependency injection for Kotlin multiplatform. I believe it's time to talk about KMP or KMM. Bit of branding thing here. KMP is covering the whole fact of multi-platform feature of Kotlin. The KMM is more targeting Android iOS side. But it's super interesting to see that Kotlin multi-platform is really taking traction. We are seeing many companies pushing app in production with a bit of multi-platform and getting more and more with that. And a big player of many known applications are online with Kotlin multi-platform. I encourage you to check at JetBrains survey to see who is using it already. The idea, finally, in our big picture, is finally to say that with Coin, with your architecture, you will have this picture of having the native UI at the top, and then you can work in the logical presentation on the native limit of the native side, and after that, repository, data sources, database will be shared easily. Presentation layer is a bit in between. It depends how much you want to share and how much you want to how complex is the component that you want to share. But for ViewModel and coroutines, I believe it's still a bit tricky to completely share directly in iOS. Let's see one of the applications from John already I like is KMP samples, and one of the famous application is developing as a demo is a People in Space. People in Space, you can find it on GitHub. And People in Space is an application that is requesting data for the International Space Station and telling you where it is on the planet and who is inside. And then you have the rendering on iOS and Android. If you check out the project, you will have folders like that, where you have multiple things, because John is is targeting Compose, Wear OS, backend, everything. Then we will focus on Android and iOS here, but you will have the Android application side, the common code, the iOS code, and many other. What is interesting is that in the common side, the common code here, we will declare things that we can share easily. And with Coin, as it's pure Kotlin, you can declare it directly. as you can see, we can declare a module with all our common dependency. We will declare our JSON serialization system. We can declare our Ktor client. We can declare our API repository, logging, and also, because KMP is not completely super magic, we will be able to declare native and shared component. When you have to be more precise, for example, for the database for SQLite, for example, we can't declare everything in shared code because pure Kotlin shared code won't cover the database driver, for example. Then we need to provide a driver, SQL driver, for any kind of platform you want to cover. And KMP is providing the expect and actual contract feature to have the contract that is declared in Kotlin, and then for each platform you will declare the implementation. For example, here we have all the common modules with all the components, and then we have one contract platform module here. We say expect fun platform module, and then in every source folder for every kind of platform, then iOS main, GS main, GVM main, we will implement this platform module and give the right implementation of this coin module for the platform. And for example, we will have a platform module for GVM implementation, and we will have a platform module for the iOS native SQL driver. This is how you go. And finally, making the wiring for your Android application is super easy, as everything is Kotlin. Then you just have to reference your component in your coin module, just a dependency. That means that at start we will launch the Android module and the common module, and then in the people in space view model we just need to use get, and then it will retrieve the dependency that is declared in common. This is how we do and how you can project yourself in terms of dependency injection for Kotlin multi-platform. That means that you can share all these red area components. This is quite interesting. If you have business rules, if you have many kind of data, then you can already share this. And Coin is, as a pure Kotlin framework, is clearly helping in this task. Those last weeks also, we published a project called HelloKMP. This is the basic KMP Hello World project, where you have the Android Hello World and the iOS Hello World, and the idea is to have the basic coin setup for you, and then you can start with it. And what is interesting is that, for example, you don't benefit from the Kotlin extensions by inject or such thing directly in iOS. I believe this will be a good thing for Coin to help around in Swift. But for today, you need to prepare some components and instantiate it directly in iOS for you. Time is running. It's time for us to see the new features around, and one specific that is not anymore as a proposal, but it was a proposal at the beginning of the year until now. We were clearly seeing the limits of a DSL. The big advantage of a DSL is that you compile directly with your code, then there is no impact. The problem with that is that you don't have any end. If you don't want to make any kind of introspection or any kind of heavy meta programming over it at runtime, then you don't know much about how is it going in terms of running your DSL. Then for us, it was a bit of a limit. And then the idea was to think a bit more about Kotlin compiler plugin, but you begin to put the end in something that's begin to be, taking your time to write, and I believe quite complex. What is making really the thing more easy is the Google KSP project. That is finally pushing the annotation analyze on the Kotlin compiler stage. That means that for us, with KSP, we can generate coin DSL for you. That means that in terms of developer experience, we want to target the most minimal thing you would declare as an annotation, and I would say you just need one annotation to declare your component, and that's it. And we will analyze everything for you, and we can generate all the coin DSL for you. The other thing is that in such approach, we want to keep the coin semantic, the coin vision of dependency injection. And then if you want to play with coin annotations, this is the project that is running, coin annotation and the coin KSP compiler. The project is already in 1.01, and you can begin to play with. The idea here, for example, I will demo quickly how we can declare all the things that you have seen before, but with super straightforward annotations. Let's go directly. For example, our task data source components, we just put @single on it, nothing more. We have two data sources here, then we put @single on it, but we need a qualifier. We will put @named on it. Fairly easy. Super also easy to read, I believe. Our task repository, what we put is @single on it because we want our single instance. You may notice that we want to target special data sources of definition, then we need to put the @name dependency, @name annotation on it. You see that I didn't mention, but on all the dependency in all the constructor, you just put @single and all the constructor will be analyzed, and then we will understand that we are resolving things with get or any kind of information here. Then we come back here, and here, for example, it will write for you the get named for you. Then you see that it's really fun to write also. The task view model, how you do that, you put @coin-view-model on it, and then you're done. And finally, you just put a few annotations around, and then you can write your by ViewModel, and you're done. For the presenter, just put @factory, and if you remember, the task view parameter is an injected param, then we can tag it as @injected param, and then we can use the parameters of function to pass this parameter inside the function. I believe the experience is super interesting. If we go back to the big picture, you see that we use @factory, @coin-view-model for the presentation layers, @single for anything else, and then we use the coin API. Modules. We need to declare things as class modules. Anything that you will declare as an annotated component, you will have to attach it to some kind of class module. To declare a class module, you just set @module on it. And the super interesting stuff here I like is having this @component-scan annotation, where basically it says that it scans all the packages and all the annotation component here, and then it bring it to this component. And then how you start a module, what we are generating finally is that we are generating the .module extension for you over your class module, and then you just need to instance your class module and write .module on it, and then you have your module. You can mix, of course, DSL module and class modules. use whatever you want, whatever you suits to you. And you can even declare component inside the module, for example, by end. We have a class at module here. Yes, and we have a function, task.diao, that is getting its dependency to-do database here. And then you can declare directly your dependency with add single on it. Super simple, straightforward also to declare. Then the basic idea is not to reproduce what we could find elsewhere, but try to have the right thing generated for you. Then it's compiler, Kotlin compiler time. Then it's really super early. And the first benchmark we have here is, for example, with 1,000 components, it takes around 2 seconds to generate. And then it's super fast. You don't have much impact on your project. It's fairly easy to debug because finally, if you want to look where it's used, then you just you don't need a special plugin for that, because finally you just find the usage or your class where it is used, and you will also find one reference in the generated code. This is where your coin modules has been generated, and then you can even debug in this coin module because it's still Kotlin, pure Kotlin thing. And coin annotation is not a replacement for DSL. It's another way to complete the developer experience for coin and for dependency injection. In some way, it can be interesting to scale your development with annotation. I believe some people, some people prefer DSL, some people prefer annotation. I believe up to you to use the way you want to declare things inside coin, and then you have access to the same API at the end. And if you want more information about coin annotations, this is on GitHub on inside Coin.io organization. This is in the project Coin Annotations. I'm almost done. One last section about what's coming next for coin. Since 2 years of coin for the coin community, things are really getting very. The trend is really getting stronger and stronger. We have seen the download volumes multiplied by 20 in 2 years. Then it's quite really super interesting, bit crazy also. But then that means that we can't keep coin as the funky, funny framework of the DI. That means that lots of companies are using it and then are betting on it to make the backbone on that application. Then we need to structure and some kind of make it really professional in a way. One thing is that we need to structure the release cycle around 6 months. Why? Because the ecosystem is going really, really quickly around, because coin is chasing behind Kotlin versions. Then you have a new version every 6 months, and behind Android API and multiple Android API, and then multiple frameworks are updating not at the same time. Then we need to find the right way to do that. Then with cycle of 6 months, it covers a good rhythm for us. And then we want to make the difference and really make our release version clean, having the fixed version track, minor version track, minor version with a new feature, new minor feature, but deprecation, fixed version with just big fixes, updates, and major version really with breaking things. And then you will follow more easily the roadmap and the tracks of coin, and then you will understand that this version update is a more minor, then can be more compatible with your application. But for example, a new major version of coin could bring many breakings also, then can demand more work. In terms of roadmap, this is how we are targeting the current version. Coin 3.1 is already in end of track, and then we are jumping on Coin 3.2 those days and koin-annotations. This is the Q2 release of this year, and in Q4 for the end of the year we are targeting Coin 3.3, Coin Compose, and many other interesting projects coming. For those who are still using Coin in 2.x, please migrate, because there are more than 2 years of development behind the version 2 of Coin. Then we have merged many things. We have optimized some performance. All the ecosystem is evolving. Then please try to upgrade from your application that is using Coin 2.x. This is the current latest version 3.2.0. And a special thanks to all the community, because without all the people that are really sharing their issues, sharing their knowledge, sharing their vision of Coin, we wouldn't have such great framework. And I believe this is super great to continue to work with the community, of course. But behind, as I have said before, with the volumes of usage of Coin, we need some backup of a real company. I believe like a big company that want to use Coin don't want to question themselves to know if Coin will close, if the Coin framework will close just in 2 months because the author is giving up, or if the community is closing up. Then there's Kotzilla. It's a company that is making support for Coin, and then Kotlin open source project. Then with friends, we are launching it. Then we provide long-term support and professional services. The blog of Coin is on the Kotzilla website. Then every new article about Coin is published on blog.kotzilla.io. Then follow us. And this is all for me. Thank you very much. I believe we can have a bit of time to answer question.
Yeah, that was a really great presentation. Thanks so much, Arnaud. It looks like we do have a question. Folks, if you have other questions, feel free to post it in the chat. First question: what are some of the main features of Coin 3.2?
The main feature is providing a new DSL experience to avoid having to write get everywhere. That means that we have a new DSL where you just target your class and you don't have to write get anymore. Then it's really crazy because it's really squeeze completely your module declaration, and then it's super interesting for you. On the other feature is the includes feature. That means that we can now optimize the graph of modules, and then you can, in a module says includes another module, and then we can flatten everything for you when you reload everything. And then this is a way to really link modules between them and to have a really hard consistency between modules, because until now we will just gathering modules in list together. Now you can include things, and then it's more consistent over the time. Also, because there is interesting, we have fixed the time API. We were based on some Kotlin time API that were breaking a bit at all new version of Kotlin, minor version of Kotlin. Then it's done now. We have our own version of the multi-platform time API. Then we don't depend from it anymore.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a nice one, because it's always like tough when you have to use libraries that are just holding a ton of other dependencies, and it just gets kind of expensive. Yeah, that's actually, I think that's pretty notable. Yeah, shoot, I had a question myself, and I feel like I just like blanked on it. But yeah, thank you. So, oh, now I remember. Yeah, so I'm so sorry. I saw that there are a lot of contributors. It was really impressive. We do have another question, so there is going to be another question as well.
Yeah,
But if people were interested in wanting to start contributing, let's say they're like total newbies, like where's like a good place that they can like go and maybe just like kind of get introduced and like, hey, like what's going on here, where can I help, what's the
yeah.
best place to go to for that?
Best place to talk with the coin community is the Kotlin Slack, the main Kotlin Slack, where you have the channel hashtag coin, and you also have hashtag coin dev. If you really want to speak about a new feature or how things are working, you can ask people there. This is the main place. And also, when people are contributing, they try to propose one thing, then sometimes it's good to chat about it before
Yeah, before
submitting a
you
PR,
write a
because
whole PR, yeah, get some feedback, get some
exactly,
community feedback. Yeah, yeah,
exactly, because there is many good idea, but having the shape and the way we want to wire it in the coin framework and perhaps ship it for the coin users can a bit change the thing. Then it's always good to come chat, and then it's super great to share the experience with people. And even if you want to dig into it, it's super easy. Just breakpoint it to coin framework, and I believe you will
that's
understand
awesome.
quickly.
Yeah, so folks, if you ever want to get into open source software, like Coin is looking for it. They have an active community, and you can literally go into the Kotlin link Slack for the Coin or the Dev channels and talk with folks there. Um, sorry. So, next question on Coin. We
Yeah.
have to define all modules in the application class. This is affecting app startup time. How can we fix this?
Yeah, this is a regular case where when you have a big application that is taking time, the other problem of the DSL is that it's taking time to load. Um, there is one way to fix that, is that you begin to decouple the main loading, the main definitions that you need to start directly, and you can load other modules later if you want in your application. Coin is super great for dynamic feature, dynamic modules, dynamic architecture. One way to avoid having to load everything at start is selecting the modules that you really need, start them, and then when you run into some or other module, load those parts. Spoiler alert, perhaps we have some mechanism to let you uh, to finally avoid blocking the main thread, and then we will load everything for you. We are thinking about new features to avoid impacting the app startup. This will come in the next version of Coin.
Great. This is I think we have some really good sets of questions. Yeah, I think that is the last one that we have for now. If there are any other questions, feel free to, I guess, ask in the meetup after. Arnaud, would you mind sharing some links of like some of the newer documentation and stuff like that? I can post it in the meetup after.
Yeah,
Yeah, and thank you so much for your time, Arnaud. This has been an incredible talk.
thank you, Amanda. It
Uh,
was good to share this coin topic in your Kotlin meetup. Then I
no,
believe I don't have much American meetup that has this opportunity to have some coin topic. Then hope it will be great for US users, let's say.
honestly, yeah, I'm really surprised. It actually is popular in the U.S., but on a smaller scale. Like it's more like smaller companies. So I'm really glad that we had the chance to do this because, it'll be a really good opportunity. I'm hoping people will like post in the comments after, like, yeah, I'm like using Coin and stuff. Yeah, please definitely comment if you're using Coin, like in the YouTube comments, because I think it's like, we're kind of in a fun time where we're seeing Coin like mature, the way that a lot of like other DI frameworks have, and it hasn't like died out. It's been, and some of these new features that you're talking about, it's so stable, it's legitimate, it's impressive, it's awesome. This is great stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Arnaud. And thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. This has been a really great show. Don't forget, we have open CFPs year rounds. We do have people saying, yeah, I'm using Coin in like my personal current project. Yeah, this is like really great. Okay, yeah, please definitely comment. And thank you again. I'm definitely going to follow up with some additional links. I know like Arnaud
Yeah.
mentioned quite a few things, so we'll keep an eye out for that. I'll try to put it in like YouTube and Meetup after. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you have
Thank you,
a
Amanda.
wonderful rest of your afternoon. And thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See you.
All right, take care.